AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from downtown Baton Rouge.
Let's ride!
Hour 3 off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. AFR, presented by Decision Critical, Concierge Nursing in Baton Rouge. I'm Matt.
This is Shaq O'Neal, and I hate Matt.
Paul O'Neal.
They're chanting Paul O'Neal's name.
You sir. And Mr. Toby Tom Blake. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. It's 5 o'clock, quitting time. Glad you are driving home with us. Got to say, I'm as comfortable as I've been maybe ever in this studio. I did, in fact, get a new chair. Shout out to our GOAT operations manager, Michelle Southern. We've rolled through several different options here for new chairs. Not just in the last week or so, but in the last 7 years.
Yeah.
Actually, in the last 15 years, for as long as I've worked here. Gordy used it as a bit for a long time, just seeing how many awful chairs he could bring into the studio to piss me off.
It's a good bit. Honestly, I'm not going to lie. It's pretty good.
It's a long-standing bit.
Yeah.
But this is a tall desk as well, so it's hard to find a chair that is high enough to where if you're watching, it's not just like a disembodied head above the laptop like you on game day.
Not anymore. Used to be. Come on now.
The first time I shot you that note, I was like, dog, look, check this out.
And then after that, it was fixed. It has been forever. It took one time.
That was so funny. And then Gordy this weekend.
Yeah, we got to do something about that, too.
You were towering over him. I'm like, that ain't right.
No.
That ain't right.
No. I don't tower over anybody.
No. But anyway, very comfy chair. I'm sitting back. I never sit back in the chair because the chairs we have always just compress down when you sit in them. And so I'm sitting comfortably in this chair. It's tall enough. I'm leaning back, have my leg crossed. Very, very comfortable. Maybe I'll yell less, Muse. If I'm comfortable, maybe I don't have any reason.
No, you'll find something else to yell about.
Maybe.
No,
Can you just let me have this moment? Can you just let me have this moment?
Well, I'm just being honest.
Can you just let me enjoy this one blissful moment?
All right, go ahead.
Yeah. You just got to ruin it all the time. That's what you do. You're a time ruiner is what you are.
That's
You're a
not
Debbie
true
You're
at
a Debbie
all.
Downer is what
No,
you are.
I'm not. I love that sketch so much.
Debbie Downer. All right. Wait, I think did Brian Kelly meet with reporters right now? I want to get to the Saints injury report. Hunt just texted. Maybe LSU finished practice early. Please look. Let's see if we can find this.
What are we looking for?
For Brian Kelly.
Okay, yeah, no. 1 minute. I see tweets like 1 minute ago, so I guess he just started.
So he's meeting early. It's normally like 5:45 that he's meeting with, right?
I mean, I could look at the schedule they sent out and see what time it was supposed to be.
Okay, here you go. Trades Green practiced today, caught passes, but questionable. West Weeks doubtful for Saturday. And by the way, that is the right decision. If you are limited and risking further injury, there is no reason to risk further injury against FCS Southeastern Louisiana. Get your guys healthy. So naturally, people will ask, well, then what about Garrett Nussmeier? And the point is, Brian Kelly told us yesterday, if he's to be believed, that Nussmeier's on the other side of it. And he's played fine and remained healthy for 3 games. There's no reason to sit him if he's good enough to play. And quite honestly, I think you need the reps and you need some good vibes. You need some get right in this offense. So go get it this weekend. All right, it's after further review. Let me get to the Saints injury report here. We're brought to you by Our Lady of the Lake, championship health partner of LSU Athletics. Naturally, that works out pretty well considering we're talking about some of the LSU injuries, and it is sort of the doctors, the trainers, the physicians that care for the LSU athletes are part of the championship health partnership of LSU Athletics with Our Lady of the Lake. Whether it be high-performing athletes at LSU, the students at LSU, they're at the Student Health Center, Our Lady of the Lake physicians are caring for those championship athletes, students, and everyday champions like you and me. Of course, I love telling you about the Children's Hospital. We've done so much over the years, and it's when I was in high school. I remember in Key Club, we had a weekly service project where we would volunteer at the Ronald McDonald Playroom at the Our Lady of the Lake Children's Hospital. That was at the Regional Medical Center on Essen. And for years, went through the whole fundraising process of watching the standalone Children's Hospital from concept to fundraising to groundbreaking to build to now opening, and taking my son there. Actually, this past Monday we were there. If it's pediatrics, if it's sports medicine, if it's cancer services, if it's heart, stroke patients, Our Lady of the Lake does it all. Part of the Franciscan Missionaries of Our Lady Health System, a multi-state health system with standalone hospitals and clinics and like late after hours for the emergency clinics. They do it all. It's a championship health partnership with LSU Athletics. Our Lady of the Lake and LSU. Together, we roar. So the New Orleans Saints and the Seattle Seahawks have issued their injury report here for Thursday. So here's the updated injury report. Dylan Radins did not practice again. He is officially out. So the Saints will be down their starting left tackle for the first 2 weeks. Now, the flip side of that is that Trevor Penning, once again, was limited. So he's been out there now for 2 days of practice, but that would tell you he's trending toward playing, the fact that he has been on the practice field. The Saints are leaving tonight, Thursday night, for Seattle. They'll practice Friday in Seattle in the Pacific Northwest. They'll have their walkthrough Saturday, play Sunday. So they wanted to get there early to acclimate to the time change. So all good. That's what they'll do. They're leaving today. Here's the disappointing news. You had 4 players that did not practice. Trey Palmer was downgraded from limited to a DNP. Taliese Fuaga for the second consecutive day did not practice. As we mentioned, Dylan Radins did not practice. He's out. And for the second consecutive day, Chase Young did not practice. So now you're looking at, for Chase Young, the possibility of missing the first 3 games of the season. And that is massively disappointing because the Saints have chosen not to put him on short-term IR. Remember, you can only use that designation on 8 players throughout the season, where you can put them on IR with the opportunity to return later in the season. They have to miss 4 weeks. But that's where I wonder, was the medical staff on top of this? Was Chase Young forthcoming? He was very adamant that this wasn't going to be a long-term thing. If you remember, it even seemed like initially that game week of week 1 against Arizona, like there was a chance he might try to play that week. Well, now he's missed 2 games, and it's looking like he's going to miss a third. So, did you miss an opportunity to bring up another player to your active roster in place of Chase Young if you would have put him on IR, the short-term IR? But we'll wait and see if he's able to play next week against Buffalo. But not practicing at all with that calf injury is a little bit of a concern now that you're going on 3 weeks without any practice time at all. The new addition to the practice report, or the injury report for New Orleans, is Devon Vele. So Vele apparently popped up with a hip injury. He's got a hip, does Devon Vele. Not a toe. That's something completely different. The hip and the toe aren't the same thing. They're different.
No, they are different. I mean, they're connected in a way on the leg, but different.
Yeah, kind of. Is the hip the leg?
The leg connects to the hip. You remember the song? The hip bone's connected to the leg bone.
Is that the song?
Yeah.
The hip bone connects to the leg bone?
Yeah, of course. The femur.
Well, in that case, then you could say, well, like everything, like your torso is the leg because everything's connected.
But your torso is the torso, connects to the top of the hip bone.
Let's not get sideways here. He's got a hip.
Vele. Vele's got the hip.
Vele's got the hip.
Okay.
Not the toe. That's Dylan Radins, who's got a toe.
And Trevor Penning.
But his toe is getting better.
It is.
He still has a toe.
Didn't lose it.
But it's not quite as significant as Radins' toe, because Radins' toe has him out.
Already, on Thursday.
Yeah. Penning has been out with a toe, but now he's practicing with the toe and could play despite the toe. but he's still got a toe. He's got a toe. Penning, yes, and Radins, both with a toe. For Seattle, their injury list is long and decorated. Zach Charbonnet, they have not issued Thursday yet because they practice later, but on Wednesday, running back Zach Charbonnet, safety Nick Emanwari, safety Julian Love, and cornerback Devon Witherspoon, all DNPs. Linebacker Derek Hall, wide receiver Torrey Horton, cornerback Josh Jobe, linebacker Ernest Jones, tackle Abraham Lucas, all limited. So Seattle really fighting it right now on their injury report. Again, waiting on Thursday's designations. The Saints practicing in the Central Time Zone obviously released theirs earlier than did Seattle, so we're waiting on Seattle's. But Seattle a little banged up. We'll see who's going to be able to go on Sunday there in the Pacific Northwest. All right, it's after further review. We're glad to have you hanging out with us here. Thursday shows are brought to you by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing in Baton Rouge. You know, maybe you or a loved one has received a really tough diagnosis. You know, maybe it's a critical or even a terminal illness. Maybe hospice is something that's an option for you right now, or someone in your family. You can trust Decision Critical. They only employ the best nurses. As a matter of fact, Blazia has a waiting list. You told me last week of 50 nurses waiting to come to work at Decision Critical. Blazia hand selects every single nurse, so you can trust the quality, the level of care, comfort, service that's coming into your home, with you at the hospital, short-term care, whatever it may be, from Decision Critical. Concierge Nursing. It's not just healthcare, it's healthcare for your lifestyle. Schedule that discovery call today at decisioncriticalbr.com. Decisioncriticalbr.com. Might need to change the website soon because they service more than just Baton Rouge. But check them out at decisioncriticalbr.com. All right, y'all, it's after further review. We're glad you are hanging out with us here. Mike Triplett in 18 minutes from right now, straight up at the bottom of the hour from DOLA.com, the Times-Picayune. Looking forward to talking to Mike about these New Orleans Saints. You know, could they maybe go on the road and get a first win here? What's he seeing? Some of the injuries, how they'll hammer out the offensive line. We'll talk about all that with Mike Triplett coming up here in a little more than 15 minutes from right now. Let me knock out a quick break. When we come back, we'll dive into what Brian Kelly is meeting with reporters right now. Anything notable from BK. Also, the SEC is close to unveiling their football schedule for 2026. At least the opponents. Will tell you what we know when we come back on AFR.
AFR.
Glow Resources, they are complete employer solutions. And what I love, there's many things I love about Glow Resources, but one of the things I love most is that they judge themselves based on how long their hand-selected employees stay with your company. That's how they judge their success as a business. And at Glow Resources, they have a 96% success rate. 9.6 out of 10 times, the employee they hire for your business sticks. This isn't temp staffing. These are permanent solutions for your business. You need skilled blue-collar labor. You need any office job from an office manager to C-level management. They've got you covered at Glow Resources. And if for whatever reason it doesn't work out, they offer you a prorated refund or they'll find you another employee free of charge. What do you have to lose? GLO, glowresources.com.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Healthcare for your lifestyle. Learn more at decisioncriticalbr.com.
Failure happens to us all.
Brian Kelly is meeting with reporters as we speak over at LSU after this Thursday practice for the Tigers as they prepare for Southeastern Louisiana. I'm scrolling this on Twitter. Obviously, I'm not there, and I'm not watching the press conference live. I'm scrolling on Twitter. I'm looking at Scott Rabolet's Twitter feed as he kind of has a running feed here of Brian Kelly's comments with respect to Garrett Nussmeier playing this weekend. But the same thing that Kelly said on the SEC coaches teleconference a day ago, saying Nussmeier's feeling good, that they had to limit a lot of things for 3 to 4 weeks, and notes that this has been Nussmeier's best week of practice. Says to hold him back at this point would not be the right thing for Nussmeier, and that Nussmeier's excited to play. So that sort of confirms what Kelly had said a day ago on the SEC coaches teleconference, and they are that they will allow Nussmeier to play this week, which I don't know any other way really to say this than the way I've said it since Monday. in the sense that the torso is something that they've mentioned. It is literally a thing because they've mentioned it, limited, whatever. But he was not listed on the injury report, and he's played in 3 games. And to that end, it feels like it's not a big deal. In the same way that the patella tendonitis that Nussmeier had, that everyone tried to make a big deal out of. He's wearing a sleeve on his knee. And like, yes, in a literal sense, it's a thing. I mean, he's got a sleeve on his knee, and he had some pain and discomfort or whatever. But like, it's not like there's nobody that plays a football season without pain or some limitation. It's just there's not anyone that plays completely free of pain or injury or discomfort or some type of limiting factor. You just play through it. And I don't know any other way to say it. I'm struggling to find a way. I know everyone's looked at LSU's offense and the struggles that they've had, which we've talked about here, and that's an objective truth. There is no argument to the contrary. This has not been a productive offense. I'm not trying to suggest anything to the contrary. All of the numbers bear that out through 3 weeks. This has not been a productive offense. So the question everyone wants to ask is why, and the natural path is to say, oh, well, it's this Nussmeier torso thing, and I just don't believe that's the case. I mean, Nussmeier is still throwing for over 200 yards a game. They're not stretching the field, obviously, but really what you've done and Brian Kelly's shown you is they are still making a commitment to being balanced on offense, run, pass. And I think the bigger thing is this offensive line coming together, and I know they did not give up a sack against Florida, but we've gone through the numbers as well, where, you know, the majority of the passes were at or near the line of scrimmage within 10 yards, or even 6 passes behind the line of scrimmage. I think part of that is, as Brian Kelly has said, they realized the challenge they had against Clemson and Florida. They had 5 new starters on the offensive line, and they're working to allow those guys to continue to develop. I think that has been more of why they've focused the game plan the way they have than Nussmeier's torso. I know that's not the headline that pops that everybody wants to discuss. An injury to the quarterback would be the headline that pops that everyone wants to discuss. I just don't think that's the case. I think it's pretty obvious some of the struggles you've had in the run game. Some of it could be scheme, some of it could be technical ability of the offensive line that has to get better. But I think it's just very obvious there's been a very concerted effort against 2 really good opponents to not put yourself in harm's way and to win those games with defense and special teams and field position and possessing the football and moving the chains. And it's not been a highlight reel offensively, but I still think that ability exists within this offense. Clearly it does. I mean, we saw Garrett Nussmeier throw for 4,000 yards a year ago. If they wanted to throw the ball in 60% of their snaps through 3 games, Garrett Nussmeier's passing totals would be higher. But would you have won the game at Clemson? Could you have been in a more competitive game against Florida? I don't know. I don't know how it would have played out. But this is a weekend where you should get going. And next week when you go to Ole Miss against a team that is not very good defensively, it's my opinion. We'll talk plenty about that next week. I think in these next 2 weeks, you should see LSU's offense get going. So I'm glad Garrett Nussmeier is going to play. Hopefully they get out there, run around, and put up some gaudy numbers, get everybody maybe feeling a little bit better before they head to Oxford. A few other notes here. I guess the other 2 things that are notable, Brian Kelly deferred when it came to being asked about Jabbar Jalouk, saying the commissioner knows more than he does. Better equipped to answer about Jalouk's 3-game suspension if it should have been more. By now, you know where I feel on that. Jabbar Jalouk should have been fired immediately. Billy Napier, in his comments to reporters earlier today, said with that suspension, Jalouk is allowed to coach during the week. He just can't participate in the games. So his duties during the games will be divvied up. The fact that man is still employed by the University of Florida is an absolute disgrace to the Southeastern Conference and the University of Florida. He should have been fired the millisecond everyone was aware that he struck a player on the field before the game. And the fact that he's being allowed to get away after 3 with just a 3-game suspension is maddening. And I can't sit here and yell about it any more than I did a day ago. And I think a lot of you agree with me, looking at every comment on every piece of content that's been out there from LSU fans and impartial people alike. Sensible people look at that and go, there is no reality where that should be allowed. But apparently Sunbelt Billy, Scott Strickland, and Greg Sankey are A-OK, just letting coaches slap players of the opposing team in the face and just handing them a 3-game suspension. All right, the biggie. Got it. The other notable is the thing I wanted to talk about, which is the SEC schedule. So, Brandon Marcello was the first to report it earlier today. The SEC is on Tuesday going to unveil the opponents for the 2026 SEC football schedule. Not the schedule. We won't know the order in which games are going to be played and when and all that sort of stuff. But everyone will know their opponents. Now, Brian Kelly said the AD here knows the annual opponents. That would be Scott Woodward. But he said, but the head coach doesn't. Kelly said you can make a case for half dozen teams to be natural rivals, but other teams want those games as well. So we will find out on Tuesday who LSU's 3. They're not calling them permanent opponents. They're calling them annual opponents. So we know that there will be 3 games, 3 teams that LSU will play every year. And that'll be the case for everybody. We've gone through this before. I've created the grid. There are some games that naturally are going to happen every year. So you get the 16 teams, you draw them all, you 1, 2, 3 different columns, and you go, all right, who do we know are going to play? Well, we know Alabama and Auburn are going to play. We know Auburn and Georgia are going to play. We know that Alabama and Tennessee are going to play. Ole Miss and Mississippi State are going to play. Texas and Texas A&M, Texas and Oklahoma, Florida and Georgia. Like, there's games we know that are going to happen. That are just Tennessee, Vandy. Like, these games are going to happen every year. So you start there with what you know, and then you try to fill in the gaps therein. I've said it before. I think the most complicated decision the SEC is going to have to make is LSU-Bama. And I know overwhelmingly people think that game is going to happen, and it may. But if it does, it is going to be much to the chagrin of the University of Alabama. And it would be nice to see the league stick it to them for once. But I'll remind you, Auburn, Tennessee, LSU. If those are the 3 annual games that Alabama gets, that is a brutal draw. And there will be no team in the league that gets a more brutal draw than those 3. And I remember a few years ago when they were having this conversation, and they were talking about pods or different ways to go about it, and your permanents, if it would be 2 or 3, whatever. The explanation Greg Sankey gave several years ago was they took the league and they looked at the last 20 years of success of win-loss records, and they split the league in half. You had the top half and the bottom half. And the top half was going to play 2 games against each other and 1 game against the bottom, and the bottom was going to play 2 games against each other and 1 against the top. And so when they made the case at the time for Alabama to play LSU, Auburn, and Tennessee at the time was in the bottom half. Tennessee had some lean years. The end of Philip Fulmer, the Derek Dooley era was a disgrace. Jeremy Pruitt, the guy who looked like a thumb. I mean, they had a lot of lean years. Now they're getting it on track with Josh Heupel. So it's a really difficult game now because Tennessee, I think, is objectively, would all agree in the top half. They were in the college football playoff a year ago, and they might be again this season. But if Alabama draws those 3, it would be the toughest draw in the league. And I don't know if the league's going to do that. The one thing that makes me think that's what's going to happen is the SEC also said the 3 annuals will be evaluated after 4 years. So it kind of leads you to believe, because remember, in a 4-year period with this scheduling format, every team in the league will play every team home and away over that 4-year period. So if you go to school and you show up and you play for 4 years, you will play in every venue. You play every team home and away in the SEC over a 4-year period. So they'll let it play for a 4-year period, and then they'll reassess after that, which I think is a sensible way to go about doing it. The nonsensical thing is having permanent opponents. It's stupid. There's no reason to do it. I understand the pageantry and the history and the traditions and the blah, 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 and it's just stupid. Like, they said the same thing about Michigan and Oklahoma, or Nebraska and Oklahoma. They don't play anymore, and the beat goes on. Texas and Texas A&M. They didn't play for more than a decade, and the beat goes on. College football will survive if Auburn and Georgia don't play every year. I'm sure it means a lot to those 2 fan bases. I don't give a rip if they play every year. You know what I'm excited about this year? I'm excited about Bama going to Athens. I'm excited about Texas and Georgia. Just give me good football. I don't care because these 2 teams played in 1923. I don't care at all about what happened 112 years ago when dudes without helmets were running around on a dirt field playing again. It's just it's irrelevant to me in my life. Give me good football now is what I want to see. So I know I'm in a minority, but I would just prefer equitable scheduling that rotates every year. The SEC is not going to do that. They're going to protect some of these rivalries, but the most complex decision they have to make, clearly, is what they're going to do with Alabama and LSU. Like, that is because Alabama's going to play Auburn and Tennessee. Like, book it. Those are locked in stone. Bama's going to play Auburn and Tennessee. Do they play LSU also? That's going to be the decision they have to make. It'll be the most fascinating decision the league makes with scheduling. All right, it's After Further Review. We're glad you're with us. We're brought to you by River City's 1 hour. Excuse me, I'll get to that in a second. We're brought to you by First South Farm Credit. My apologies. FirstSouthLand.com. FirstSouthLand.com. If you're thinking of buying land, your first call should be to First South Farm Credit. They're simply the best. They've been doing it for more than 100 years. If you're thinking of buying land, why would you call anyone other than First South Farm Credit, who has done one thing for more than a century? Help Louisianians buy land. Maybe you live in New Orleans, but you want to move to the North Shore but continue working in the city. You want the rural lifestyle but working in the city. First South Farm Credit can make that happen. They have an office in Tangipahoa, so you can actually do business with someone who lives where you want to live. Sell you that land. You build your family's dream home, commute into the city. They offer that for anything. Maybe you want to buy a home in the Felicianas. Maybe it's St. Francisville. You want to buy land to build your home there. First South Farm Credit can help. It's FirstSouthLand.com. Land is a finite resource. It could be a great tax write-off as well. Ask your CPA. First South Farm Credit. FirstSouthLand.com. That's FirstSouthLand.com. Okay, it is After Further Review. We're going to knock out a break. Mike Triplett will join us next. We'll talk Saints-Seahawks. Final look there when we can come back and continue here on AFR.
AFR.
All right, y'all. Tomorrow is a football Friday, which means the LSU football Tigers are going to pack up their bags. They're going to move it on in to Renaissance Baton Rouge. Right there on Bluebonnet, near I-10, across from the Mall of Louisiana and Perkins Row. It's Renaissance Baton Rouge. Gorgeous, sprawling hotel, big enough to host the entire LSU football program. Their team meetings, the grand ballroom is where they have their team meals and their full team meetings. They have the smaller rooms that can be partitioned off where they can have the individual and position group meetings. Of course, they've got boardrooms, so if you need a meeting space for a dozen people to have lunch and board meetings, they can help you there as well at Renaissance Baton Rouge. Call Allison Crump. She's the events coordinator at Renaissance Baton Rouge and at Watermark Baton Rouge for both properties. And I love what Allison says. If it's a wedding reception, if it's a fundraiser, if it's an awards banquet, we're in the business of saying yes. It's Renaissance Baton Rouge.
After Further Review with Matt Moscona. Presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Healthcare for your lifestyle. Learn more at DecisionCriticalBR.com.
Mike! Yeah?
New Orleans Saints coverage with some Mad Libs mixed in.
Why don't you just go by Mike?
It's time to talk black and gold with Mike Triplett of New Orleans Football. Presented by Benny's Car Wash. Family owned and operated since 1951.
Hey, Mike. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing great, man. I'm curious at 0-2 right now, and being in the Dome with sort of a San Francisco 49er fan takeover, where you kind of gauge fan interest on this season right now, 2 games in?
I don't think the fan interest is super strong game to game, like living on like they need to win this game today. And I'm so passionate about it. I mean, it was a 49ers takeover because a lot of 49ers fans were willing to buy tickets. I'm curious what the next few home games will look like. It could be empty seats. It could be a quieter dome. This part of that trend has been going on for a few years now with the missed playoff seasons. And we've heard boos in the Dome, and we've seen empty seats in the Dome. I mean, that's the state of this team right now. I think there is still fan interest in the team, but it's a lot more like, when are we going to get this thing back up and running? Let me know when we do, because the games themselves aren't individually super compelling, especially at 0-2, like you said.
Yeah. This game this week brings on a different layer of intrigue for different reasons, which we'll get to in a second. But through 2 weeks, I can't say Spencer Rattler has been the problem. I don't know that he's proven to be the answer. Where do you fall on that sliding scale?
Yeah, he's somewhere in between. I know that's a cop-out answer. There's a lot in between. I think he's pretty good. I don't know how high his ceiling goes. I'm glad that he's the guy out there right now as opposed to the veteran they previously had or some other veteran that they brought in. I mean, if you're going to compare him and say, should it be him or the guy they picked 40th overall, that's interesting conversation that'll be had for months and maybe years to come. But
yeah.
I'm glad that it's a young quarterback that we're finding out more about each week. And I think he's very quickly kind of slid into people realizing, he kind of doesn't look that much different than all the other guys who were drafted last year, even though they were drafted first and second and third overall. He's a work in progress, but he's got some real talent. It's almost a shame that we keep comparing him to Tyler Shuck, because if he was just the one developmental guy and that was it, I think people would be really encouraged right now.
Do you think, or what scenario do you think would have to unfold for New Orleans to give Tyler Shuck a shot?
Well, we talked about this on the show this week. I think there's a couple things. I think obviously, no duh, Spencer Rattler can hold him at bay by playing very well and winning a lot of games. And just, making it clear, you can't bench me the way I'm playing right now. But the wins are a very important part of that, because even if Rattler keeps this up and he keeps playing at this level, he needs to make sure it's not for a team that is about to have the first or second pick in next year's draft. I think if the Saints feel like there's a deadline on their decisions, then they're going to have to take a look at Tyler Shuck at some point, because they're going to need that information. So I think the answer is, play really well, obviously, but also make sure you win enough games that they don't feel like they need to do a full evaluation of all their current quarterbacks before next year's draft.
Mike Triplett's with us, NewOrleans.football. Chats every week, brought to you by Benny's Car Wash. Learn more about your options and your membership options at bennyscarwash.com, bennyscarwash.com. Trevor Penning going to play this week?
He's touch and go. He's making the trip to Seattle, though. That's obviously a good sign. He's been out at practice both days, even though he was limited. Seeing him out there on Wednesday was definitely a positive. So I think there's a good chance. And boy, do they need him, because all of a sudden now Dylan Radins can't go and Tali Fuaga might not go. So the offensive line is that position group so far this year.
What did they? It was that last year as well.
Well, they all were last year.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. What about left guard though? I mean, with Saldiveri out for the season, Penning gets hurt, now Radins gets hurt. It's almost unbelievable they're walking that path again. What do you think is a realistic expectation for that line this week if you do see a shuffle with no Fuaga, or if Penning is limited?
Yeah, if Penning can play, then really the one position you're worried about is right tackle. They luckily acquired that awesome Richards from Dallas. He has some experience, but all of his previous experience had come at left tackle. Right tackle is new to him. I think he struggled a little bit when he came into the game in week one. So that would be your big worry spot. But in theory, you'd have experienced starters at every other position and just hope for the health with Penning. So it would help a lot if he can play. Otherwise, you might be throwing rookie Torricelli Simpkins in there as well and have two big question marks.
I have no interest in seeing that against Seattle's defensive line. Not that defensive line. Okay, Chase Young. Mike, why didn't they put him on short-term IR?
If there was any chance he was going to come back in less than 4 weeks, then there's no reason to do that. It's not like they desperately needed those roster spots. They've had healthy inactives every week anyway. So, if he only misses 3 games, then it was worth it not to. But just, sometimes they don't know for sure. If it's a 2 to 4 week injury, you're hoping it's closer to the 2, and they didn't desperately need that roster spot. They're churning guys in and out of that last roster spot all the time anyway. So that doesn't bother me whenever a guy is in the window, I guess. But it does look like he's about to miss his third game.
Were you encouraged by anything or anyone in particular defensively against San Francisco?
Yeah, I mean, we might have been talking about an excellent defensive performance if they could just get off the dang field and on third down. I mean, the list of third downs that the 49ers converted in that game were ridiculous. It was like 3rd and 14, 3rd and 13, 3rd and 11. A lot of them were because of a 5-yard penalty that came with an automatic first down. But, I mean, they were doing what they were supposed to on first and second down. They were bottling up Christian McCaffrey in the run game anyway pretty well. He got leaky on them on that touchdown right before halftime. So, fairly encouraging. I mean, they did enough to keep that game competitive, and then they just couldn't get off the field. So, I still would like to see more pass rush from this team, obviously, and not having Chase Young doesn't help that. We'll see Alante Taylor and Kool-Aid McKinstry get tested this week by Jackson Smith and Jigba and Cooper Kupp. They're still a TBD, but they were close. I don't know how long we're going to give them any points for being close, but they were close.
The Saints are near the bottom of the league in pressures right now, so they could certainly use Chase Young getting back. Is there a spot on the field where you think the Saints might have an advantage over Seattle?
Yeah, an advantage over Seattle. I'm trying to think. I mean, I still think Alvin Kamara looks like he's one of the elite backs in the league, and they're doing a decent job with him when they're getting the ball in his hands. I think he's a problem for Seattle's defense. I'm very curious about Seattle's injury report because they've got two really good defensive backs who are both questionable and touch and go whether they're going to play this week or not. So, I mean, there's some chances for the Saints to keep producing the same level of. I mean, all their skill position players are healthy right now. They still have the Olave Shaheed combination, Brandon Cooks, Juwan Johnson. I mean, they should be able to move the ball. I don't think they'll just be completely shut down. But yeah, like we said at the beginning of this conversation, the offensive line needs to allow them to do that.
Would Sean Payton have already cut Blake Grupe?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Sean Payton has Will Lutz in Denver with him. He's loyal to guys who have proven skins on the wall, and I think Blake Grupe falls in that department of proven. But you quickly find out how long that lasts if this continues. They want to chalk it up to a fluke. I mean, it's crazy. I don't know if we jinxed him or what, but I mean, he was like arguably the MVP of the summer. He missed one kick ever all summer in any practice session, any preseason game, anything. And then 2 weeks into the season, he's already missed 2 kicks.
Yeah. Any reason for optimism Sunday against Seattle except for the any given Sunday mantra?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Seattle's this perfect team. I mean, the Saints just, were within upset range against the 49ers, and the 49ers and Seahawks was a 17-13 game a couple weeks ago. The Niners beat them. I put the Seahawks somewhere in that great middle of similar to the Cardinals, similar to the Niners. I'm going to pick the Saints to lose by 6 points again, just like they keep doing to all these teams. But I don't look at this matchup the way I'm going to look at Saints at Buffalo a week later.
Yeah, that should be overwhelming. But the Saints do have a couple opportunities when they come home from Buffalo with the Giants and the Patriots. Those are gettable games for New Orleans. We'll see if maybe Kellen Moore can notch his first win before then. Mike Triplett, NewOrleans.football. Our chats every single week are brought to you by Benny's Car Wash. You can learn more about the Benny's membership club at bennyscarwash.com, bennyscarwash.com. Unlimited car wash memberships, bennyscarwash.com. Mike, we appreciate it as always, man. Thank you so much for the time.
Thanks for having me.
All right, man. We'll do it again next week. It's After Further Review. We're brought to you by Arco Power Systems, ARCCO. Arco.com. It's Arco Power Systems. This is really easy to explain. Power goes out, need a generator. That's Arco. I'm not talking about for your home. Okay? They are not a residential generator provider. This is Generac Industrial Power. So this is for your business. If you are a hospital, a grocery store, a convenience store, a restaurant, a bank, a roofing company, a broadcast entity, we have a giant generator on the outside of this building because if a storm comes and power goes out, we don't have the option of being off air, just like your business doesn't have the option of shutting down. Arco Power Systems can make sure you stay online. ARCCO, arco.com, arco.com, arco.com. It's that easy. ARCCO, arco.com. It does not matter what your business is, how big, small, large, if it's municipality. If storm comes and power goes out and you need power, you need Arco. Arco Power Systems. ARCCO, arco.com, arco.com. All right, it's after further review. When you're hot, you're hot. What happened? I saw your text. What happened? Did they hit one?
Not a bet, but Otter did win an award.
Oh. Check my text. I just saw your text. It said, when you're hot, you're hot.
Yeah.
Oh, he got Yard of the Month.
Got Yard of the Month.
Attaboy.
It's our guy.
Our guy got Yard of the Month. Okay, we'll talk to the winner, the newly crowned winner of the Yard of the Month next on AFR.
AFR.
During the show, in the first hour, I got a text from Nancy Herron, my old high school English teacher, who said, hey, can you recommend a good AC company that won't take advantage? Absolutely. River City's 1 hour air. Call them, 752-0001. Sent out the number, said, call the line, call the number. You're going to talk to a human, and they will come out to you tonight. And by the way, if you're worried about taking advantage, they will never do that. They're going to give you, if you need a repair, they're going to give you a good, better, and best option. And you decide based on your budget what you'd like to do. I'll give you an example. When Eric and I bought our current house, the AC in our bedroom was the original AC, and it was on its last leg. We decided to just maintenance it. Just little maintenance repairs. And we got another 9 years out of that unit. They're the best. It's River City's 1 hour air.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Healthcare for your lifestyle. Learn more at decisioncriticalbr.com.
Down the stretch we come, final segment. Thursday edition of AFR. We do appreciate always Blazia and the great team over at Decision Critical. Not just healthcare, it's healthcare for your lifestyle. DecisionCriticalBR.com. DecisionCriticalBR.com. All right, time for Outer Locks.
Outer Locks.
All right, time to win some money.
Presented by Total Maintenance AC Repair. Same-day service means you will never sleep hot. 480-1000. We are Total Maintenance.
I think it's safe to say that I won the bet.
Otter, how are you?
Doing good, man. Just finished the yard work. Looking good. Ready to watch some games.
Congratulations on Yard of the Month. The picture looks beautiful.
Doesn't it? I mean, that's Keeneland turf, baby. Kentucky turf.
I'm not patronizing. I pay someone to do my yard because I'll never cut grass again. I hate doing it. And it's worth my time to pay someone else to do it. But if you enjoy it and you can make it look that good, God bless you, man. It looks awesome.
Nine knee surgeries. I got to compete in something, boy. I mean, shoot. I mean, come on, man. I got to keep scoreboard on something. I mean, shoot. Anyway, let's get to it. The Thursday night football divisional matchup is a very popular pick in the survivor pools and knockout pools. And with Buffalo, we know about the road team visiting on a short week and all that. So, boy, you watch the Dolphins, and I mean, that makes you pretty scared to bet them. But you know what they say, fear creates value. We're going to say the 0-2 teams, Matt, are covering on the next week. Not when they play each other, but 0-2 teams are covering at a clip of almost 70% over the last 10 years. So it's a desperation angle. So you know the Saints are in that same boat this year. But this is a team with the Dolphins and expectations, been to the playoffs, you know, and kind of had their chances and looked better at times. But a little desperate spot here for the Dolphins. We're going to take it was 12.5 earlier. I think it dropped to 11.5.
I'm looking at 12.5 at DraftKings.
All right, Charlotte and Rice, home team, Thursday night, catching points. Public all over Rice in this one. Rice went to ULL and took care of them. ULL is not good this year, so they're really struggling, man. Defensively, I could not believe how poor is defensive run that they had. So we're going to go with Charlotte home dog in that one. And then a key game in the American League West. Well, San Diego already lost today, but we're going to take the Giants. Webb's been hot, and the Giants have played much better than the Dodgers over the last 30 games or so. We're going to take the Giants at a plus $1.40 at a plus price.
Yep. $1.43 at DraftKings. Rufino's tomorrow.
Lock of the Week Friday, presented by Six Florida, 10 a.m. Film study with Richard Dixon and Hanny. We go all the way to 1. Good luck.
See ya. That's Jimmy Ott, the newly minted Yard of the Month winner, James Ott. Jimmy and Charlie will be at Rufino's kicking off Football Friday starting at 10 a.m. on 104.5 ESPN in Baton Rouge. Of course, you can get it online or on YouTube as well. Muse Pauly, thanks. Y'all have an awesome night. We're at Don Juan tomorrow. See you then.
After further review.
Getting on down the road, reminder about Shawbill's Tire and Auto Service, ShawbillsTire.com, ShawbillsTire.com. Shawbills, where we keep you rolling name brand tires at wholesale prices. And, of course, they always offer the Charlie's Dozen. That's a dozen benefits to you and your family when you buy tires at Shawbills, meaning they're going to do great things like free tire repair, free tire rotations, free alignments for the life of the tires. Whenever you buy them at Shawbills, you get all of the Charlie's Dozen and the price match guarantee. How about this? They guarantee the lowest price. Buy tires at Shawbills. If you find those tires advertised cheaper, they will refund you 125% of the difference. How about that? They're just awesome to work with. It's Shawbill's Tire and Auto Service. Schedule service online, shop tires online, find the location nearest you online at ShawbillsTire.com, ShawbillsTire.com. It's Shawbills, where we keep you rolling.